So, guys, I want to talk about AEW and the women's tag team tournament. And I know people have been very, very concerned with the women's tag team tournament. Like, I'm Zane was talking about, like, how there feels like there's a lot of teams thrown together, really, and there's not really a lot of, like, storytelling. Like, if you're going to have Athena and Mercedes become a team, they have to do more stuff together. Or, Willow and Harley Cameron, maybe next week you have something where they talk or there's backstage promos or them like working and wrestling together. Like create some sense of emotional investment because when you put people together, especially for a tag team tournament or something inaugural, you have to treat it like a really, really big deal. So that's kind of one of the big things. But also, I think the biggest thing is the right winners. And in my opinion, that there are three teams that could be the right winners. There could be Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata, because Queen Aminata has never won a championship, so it's something new and different. She talked about being the first African born champion. She's kind of like been really underrated, and the other part of it is that they really need to push new people. I've said this many times. No Mercedes, Athena, and Tony Storm, and then the other team that should win um is the Sisters of Sin for the exact same reasons that just don't want to that they've not won any type of I don't think they've ever been like women's tag they've never been the women's champion, but also too they've been very underlooked, and then the third winner should be Ty J for the exact same reason really. And I do want to say that Mina and Tony Storm shouldn't win because Tony Storm has won a lot in the past. The women's division, she kind of is like the big baby face of the women's division. So the other problem is that if she kind of wins in the women's division, a lot of people may eventually turn on her and be like, "Hey, you know what? You're overrated. You're overfeatured. You don't know how to build new talent, really." Like I think, quite honestly, they could do something like they could have the Sisters of Sin actually win, and then what happens is that you have Tony Storm versus Tekla at the Prudential Center or at Full Gear. And then you have in Australia, that's when you put the title on Tony Storm, like the tag team title on Mina and Tony Storm. Like that kind of makes the most sense, really, and that's kind of a good transition. Another thing you can do is you could have Mercedes and Athena, and they should not win for two reasons. Because I think the first thing that I would say is it would piss people off more because really Mercedes is getting that get the fuck off my television type of heat. So if she wins any title at the Prudential Center, because I think they're gonna have the finals of the tag team tournament. If she and Athena win, it's gonna be very detrimental and it's gonna do a lot of harm really because a lot of people are gonna be pissed that Mercedes is gonna go from like maybe 13 belts, or if she wins the AEW championship, 14 belts. And then also too, she's from Boston, so like there's Boston, New York Yankees, so you don't want to piss people off by having Mercedes win. So I think it'll be detrimental. And then also people will be like, oh, well, she has creative control, she has a lot of these things backstage pull really. So a lot of people, so it's probably gonna do a lot more help than harm really. And then I also feel that another thing is that you could do something, and this is probably the right thing, is that you can have Mercedes and Athena um, lose. You can say that there is a disconnection or there is a miscommunication. They lose, and then you do Mercedes and Athena at Death Before Dishonor, and that's probably the best thing that they can do, really, because you have to make Death Before Dishonor have matches and must see matches. You have to draw that pay per view because you can't do something like say, "Hey, you know what? We're going to not make Ring of Honor matter really." So I think that should be what they get out of this. That's the best thing they can do. Mercedes versus Athena for the AW ROH championship, like title versus title. The TBS championship, the TBS championship, and the ROH television championship interim versus the women's ROH championship. So I think that quite honestly, that would be the best. I think that would be kind of like the best thing, just to do that. But to do that through Mercedes and Athena, but them just to win it would just kind of piss people off because it's like it kind of goes down to what happened with Rio. Like people are like, oh man, Rio won, and you have this really skinny ass wrestler that's friends with Kenny Omega, and I believe she was trained by Kenny Omega, winning as the first women's champion over Nyla Rose, who was the first women's trans champion on like a national televised promotion. She was a big bad powerhouse wrestler, and she represented a lot of what AEW was. But you had her kind of get overshadowed because of nepotism. Do you want to repeat that thing where it's like, oh well, Mercedes and Athena are winning because of nepotism versus another team? Really, like don't get it right. Get it right on the first champion. Get it right on the inaugural champion. Don't get it right on the second champion. Type of thing, really. But I also feel with like Ty J, they've been around for a long time. And Jay's had really great matches, bloody hardcore, blood, sweat, and tears. They're a really great babyface team. The fact that I think like Ty Mello came back after I think Ty Mello or Ty Conti is her name. Like she came back after giving birth. She's done a lot of great things for the company. She's been there a long time. It's a great way to say, hey, you know what? Hey, it can be new people really. And imagine, like I said, if Anna Jay or Ty Mello pins Tony Storm or Athena or Mercedes, how much that elevates that person that gets the pinfall, and then how much it elevates them when they say, hey, we should have a TBS championship match. Hey, we should have a AEW women's match with Statlander. Because, you want to also try to use this tournament to kind of say, hey, you know what, we need to build people towards this title, but then they can graduate to other titles. Like you look at Kyle Fletcher, who was the ROH, he was like the ROH, I think, television champion, and then he became the AEW TNT championship. Or like Mark Briscoe was on ROH for the longest time. He was like the ROH tag team, then he was the ROH world champion. Now he wants to challenge for the TNT title, and he's talking about the world heavyweight title. You got to kind of have progression, and that's what titles should be, really. It should be tag team to heavyweight. You look at somebody like Swerve Strickland, tag team to heavyweight. So you've got to do that with the women's tag team titles. But the best way to do it is just to have the right champion. You don't make the first one, somebody that you kind of regret, really. And like I said, Tony Storm and has already gotten a lot of titles, and then also too, that she and Mina do sexual comedy, really. So you kind of want to have like kind of like a joke team or a funny team, like be the first one, and then also Mercedes and Athena. It would piss people off because they said that's too entitled type of thing, really. So I really think that if you really want to make a statement, Triangle of Madness should get it first, or it should be Harley Cameron and Willow, or also just Ty J. But I really think that Harley Cameron and Willow is the safest option, best option, because Willow's kind of been very overlooked, and she's been in like Blood and Guts and done a lot of like other stuff for AEW, really. So I really think that it's good to reward that. And also with Harley Cameron, she kind of has a very bubbly personality, but she showed through her first promo where she brought the puppet, that she can switch from funny to serious, and funny to like winning and being successful and accomplishing dreams means a lot to her, really. So she can go into all emotions, really, and that's what a wrestler needs. You need to go into all emotions, and I think that, as I said, probably maybe the most underrated wrestler is Harley Cameron. But I also would say too, my fear is that Harley Cameron jumps into comedy too much. But there are times when she can jump to that serious, what, this means something to me, and you need to have that. It's like you can have comedy, but you can also, but you have to have comedy and heart. You just can't have comedy. So I really, really hope that they pick the right winner, really. Like I said, the safest thing is Willow and Harley Cameron. The second safest thing is Ty Mello, and the third safest thing is a Triangle of Madness. And, putting on Athena and Mercedes it's just going to fuck up that tag team division, because people are going to be like, oh man, it's Mercedes 13 or 14 belts. Don't let her win any championship at the Prudential Center, because you'll piss off a lot of people.